This is Kaylan, better known as Professor Cygnus and Angels. And I am the founder of the Cygnus Industries, and I live non-sinfully and independently. We pray that everyone has healthy eating, appropriate speech, appropriate behavior, appropriate clothing, appropriate spacing, and knowing the science and anatomy of all things. Also remembering to have the goals of the body, the household, and the outside responsibilities. This was a birthday card that Mrs. Deborah had gotten for my angels and I. And also, Mrs. Deborah had taken my angels and I to the store today. And we love to appreciate the development of humanity and all the products into which they have. Very good. Today we will be speaking about getting food on a low budget that can survive you for the rest of the month. A lot of people, we notice that people get sodas, people get chips, junk food, and all kinds of things like that. Is that kind of stuff wasting your money on what you could be spending that on? Yes, because I would never get junk food. And actually, when I was really little, I think that the most money that was spent on food was around the time of transitioning the diet, being vegan, gluten-free, and low sugar, and was already vegan, but was seeking out things that were either gluten-free or low sugars, because everything had a high level of sugar. The one thing is packaged products. Packaged products have ingredients that may not be good. And let's get our chapstick out of our fanny pack. Very good if you all have your chapstick. Very good. When it comes to food, what kinds of food helps to survive for an entire month? Now, when it comes to preservatives, that's definitely something that you need. What can you get at the store that you would need without refrigeration? So how much money does the refrigerator cost to have for an entire month? Just try to unplug your refrigerator for an entire month and see how much that saves you. And a lot of the times the refrigerator is using about 5,000 watts. And that is just way too many wattages. And if you unplug that, you will definitely save. But without your refrigerator, what kinds of things can you have? Now, when it comes to fruits and vegetables, that's very important, but a lot of them will spoil if not refrigerated, correct? And so we will speak about what I can get without having air conditioning or a refrigerator and without having a high budget and having a low budget, what kinds of things survive me for an entire month. And we'll go over what you all see behind us. This is rice. And so we are very thankful, very appreciative for these products and the farmers, the inventors, manufacturing, and all the cargo ways and all the store associates and all of the ways of uniting us, because they really make these things possible for us. And so we will go over the things that my angels and I get for the entire month of survival. And so all of these things, the apples, the peaches, that is going to go bad in the next few days. And so that more than likely that's not going to last an entire month. Now apples can stay good for a long time. So you can get the apples, and as long as you let the apples breathe, they should not get anything like mold development or anything else. But do not expect apples to last a very long time. As far as the melons goes, the melons can stay good for a while, but you have to make sure to smell it when you cut that open. Always smell, analyze to make sure if the color is indifferent, etc. Always make sure that the food is good. Now, watermelon will last for about a week or two, maybe a week. And so you do have to be very precautious about getting melons without refrigeration and having something that will last the entire month. Now, as far as people that love to prepare for emergency situations such as tornadoes and such, if you want to find tornado shelter food, and you're not sure what kind of food to stock up for, say that you had a underground shelter for a tornado shelter, that is incredibly intelligent. If only my angels and I could do that. It takes a lot of money to be able to build a shelter underground, and plus big boulder rocks, the boulders would have to be removed also. But when it comes to the understanding of preparing ahead of time, whether if it is just surviving for the entire month or emergency situations, it is important to prepare for that. So the number one thing is focusing on preservation and the preserved foods. So actually you can preserve foods yourself with a dehumidifier or a dehydrator for food. And my angels and I used to have a dehydrator, and we've shown that on the previous episodes. That was hundreds of episodes back. Think about like 500 episodes back. There's over 1,000 episodes. So who knows how many episodes that was back. Very good for analyzing. But that was the KPOS dehumidifier. Very good. And the KPOS dehumidifier would make banana chips. And you would just cut up the bananas, put that on the dehumidifier, and let the dehumidifier take the moisture out, and then just preserve that. And shockingly and thankfully, yes, that preserved the food to be able to eat that without having the sugars. And that also took the sugars out of the bananas too, so that was even better. So had made things like banana chips. You can make potato chips with that, and you can also make preservatives as well. And even pineapple, you can dehumidify pineapple and all kinds of things to preserve that for longer. And even apple chips. If you do not preserve your food, it's going to end up going bad. And once it does go bad, then you're no longer going to be able to have your food. When it comes to dehumidifiers, you can actually make spices out of that also. That is very good. And you can make little jars and put that into the jars. Have known someone from YouTube did the jarring, and I did not get that far because I had to move, and my dehumidifier went to some people that did community cooking, and they had cooked for the community. And so by the dehumidifier going to them, that helped the community as well. But as far as preservation goes, and excellent processing, very good. That takes so much effort to pull up those memories. And I'm so thankful for my wonderful miracle angels. As far as the rice goes, this is a preservative. This will last as long as you need. This rice is not going to go bad. This rice is a preservative. This is sealed in a bag, and this looks like this is vacuum sealed. This is a vacuum sealed bag. Also, preserving your foods is vacuum sealed items, but do not think that all vacuum sealed items are going to be preserved. One time had gotten a vacuum sealer and tried to vacuum seal things like the zucchini or squash or whatsoever that was. And it ended up going bad in the vacuum bag, and it was not very reliable. And the thing is, in thought, it was like, okay, you do not need a refrigerator as long as you have a vacuum seal bag, and tried it, and that did not do as well. But as far as these vacuum sealed bags goes, rice is already a preservative as it is. So all you really need is like a jar that could hold it. And this vacuum seal bag, make sure that this is safe to eat whenever you can. And this preservative is something that will last you for a month, for 2 months, 3 months, however long that you can survive. So that's why this is considered tornado shelter food. Now, how would you cook it, you're asking? So we'll pull up these tea candles. And this is the Amari brand. And Amari makes tea candles, and you can actually cook with candles. And that's currently how my angels and I cook, is with tea candles, because this is an off-the-grid property. And I did not want to do wood stoves. Tried a wood stove, and it ended up causing eye problems. And And the toxins of that just blew in the face and the eyeballs. It was painful. It was very painful. And I could not do the wood stoves. A lot of people, they talk about wood stoves like it's so amazing. But honestly, the candle experience is so much better. And not only that, thinking that cooking with candles is a lot more environmental friendly as well. And a regular wood stove is not environmental friendly and causes lots of pollutions to go in the air. So definitely promoting tea candles for cooking, but if you want to do like an emergency shelter, like a tornado shelter, what you can do is just have the candles and put that down into the tornado shelter building underground and have a lot of rice sitting in the tornado shelter. Now, a lot of people put canned food in tornado shelters, but that ends up expiring and going bad at some point. So I feel like, is that a waste of money for some things in this little fly? Yes, I know. There's tons of things we need to do. Do not bother me. Flies are so fast. In fact, they say that if humans can go as fast as flies do, we would be going the speed of an airplane. It's wild. That's what scientists say, because they're actually really fast for their size. Really amazing. Back to what I was saying, cantaloupe. So the power of nature is important, and this is how I survive for an entire month. Just at the mid part of the month is when I'm able to get things like peaches and apples. But being vegan, gluten-free, and low sugar is very important. Actually, there is a very, very concerning amount of people that have something called a belly gut. And a belly gut is when their belly sort of, pops out. And my biological grandpa that died of a heart attack, before he died of a heart attack, way before, I seen them for only a day, and my biological grandpa did the cargo trains for over 20 years or so and delivered cargo. And that's a big thing, actually. My biological grandma, Mrs. Jean, she had gotten trophies for being a part of the train family. And the cargo trains delivers thousands and thousands and even millions of pounds of things. And so that is a very big deal for the ones that are unaware. But my grandpa had served for over 20 years or so in the cargo trains. And actually we have a photo over here somewhere. Thank you. Yes, indeed. We went to get a photo book because this is what we have for now. But as far as my grandpa goes, he passed away, but the reason why he passed away is because, and here's my Aunt Dinah with my brother Michael. My Aunt Dinah wanted to adopt us when we were little. That's my Uncle David that served into the military. And that was when they had us when we were little. They were trying to get custody of us because they wanted to take my brothers and I away from where we was at. And if they would have, our lives would have been so amazing. My Aunt Dinah actually had bought a leaf blower, but my biological grandpa, trying to find the image, here this is. So my grandpa, Mr. Prater, had worked with CSX, which is a train company, and this was the image of us there, and that's my biological grandpa there. And that was before, I think that was after splitting apart. I think that's when my brothers were in the children's home. I'm not sure. And then we came together to see that. But it was absolutely incredible. Actually, every time I see a train, I always think of my biological grandpa, Mr. Prater. And what happened to him was terribly tragic. But when he had a belly gut, that's really what caused the heart attack, was because he had a belly gut and he was not taking it seriously. And my angels and I was telling them before they passed away, literally, I have comments that to where I reached out to them and I commented on their posts and I said, please get on a healthy diet and had practically put it out there to them like it was an urgent emergency for them to change their diet. And no matter what I said about diet change and everything else, they just did not care, and they would not change their diet. And even when my biological grandpa had his first heart attack, and they said he was actually on his way to the restaurant before, and then he had a heart attack. And I'm thinking that's the reason why he's having difficulties, is because of the restaurant. You have to stop eating restaurant food. You need to start eating healthy, home-cooked things. And they did not do it. And so for so long, a lot of people, they wait and wait to get better until somebody's death actually happens. And that's the thing. You should not wait until the last second. And especially when somebody's reaching out to you saying, hey, look, this is what could happen to you. You could have a heart attack. You could have early diabetes. You could have liver failure, kidney failure. I mean, that's all death-threatening things, all because of being on an unhealthy diet. And that's why diets are very important. And we notice that there's a lot of people with belly guts, and their belly sort of looks rounded. So one time, my biological grandpa, I asked him, why is his belly, like that? Because it sort of looked like he was, a pregnant man. And it was like, why is your belly like that? And I poked his belly, and his belly was hardened. So it was not like mushy fat. Fat feels like mushy. But his belly was hardened, like it was something hard. And I was thinking, why is his belly like that? And it turns out the reason why, and looking back at those years ago, of what really causes belly guts and why we should be very concerned for people that have formation of belly guts, is because what happens is their tissue, they start to get super inflamed, and their tissue starts to layer up and harden. And when this happens, it's actually crushing their organs, and their organs are crushing the wall, which is why it turns back to their diaphragm, and their diaphragm is constantly trying to protect their heart and lungs. And that's why it ends up getting to their heart, and they end up having an easily heart attack. And they have a heart attack at an instant, because anybody with a belly gut, anyone, is at major risk. Now, I've never seen a female with a belly gut, and I asked Mrs. Deborah today why I have seen only males with belly guts, and I've never seen a female with a belly gut, because females usually form fat. They do not form a belly gut. But apparently, according to Mrs. Deborah, there are some females that can form belly guts too, and they look pregnant, but they're not. They just have a belly gut. And so with these concerns for people that have these belly guts, I mean, honestly, you all, that's death threatening. Anytime you see someone with a belly gut, they are at risk of death. And we have to convert the people. In an example, our neighbors, and I think that we do not want to mention any names so they're not going to get embarrassed or anything like that. But honestly, I think it's a good influence for people. And around the time of winter time, we had help. My angels and I had help from the neighbors, and it was like seriously cold temperatures. But I enjoy the cold temperatures, but they invited me to their bunker house, and I denied for a long time until finally accepting and going over there to the bunker house. Well, I had some Christmas carols with the family and had a really good time, but I seen that the neighbor had a belly gut, and I did not ignore it. I said something about it, and I said, I'm very concerned about your belly gut, and had spoken about saying, well, things like that can cause early diabetes, heart attack, and had said, my biological grandpa, Mr. Prater, passed away from 2 major heart attacks because of issues like that. And I, kept repeating the lesson of be on a healthy diet, do not eat things that are bad, always check the ingredients of the items. And the neighbor just said, I think that God sent me to you, or sent you to me to tell me this about healthy diets, because I've been trying to change my diet, but it's been very difficult for me. And I just kept, every time that I called the Turner's family, always reminded them to be on a healthy diet and prayed that they would be on a healthy diet. And next thing you know, they ended up changing their diet. They got off the sodas and they started exercising more. And once they started exercising more, our neighbor just lost that belly gut and is so healthy, you all. If you just see the before and after differences, you would be very shocked. But as far as the belly gut, and their parents had met also, the neighbor's parents also, and which is Mrs. Deborah T. And Mr. T has, and that's Mr. Turner, has a belly gut. And I hate to admit it, but I've tried to get, I got Clay on a healthy diet, which is our neighbor from the Turner's family, and he did really, really good. And there was just a major before and after difference. Now, Lauren, she was fine. She was good weight. And the kids seemed to be very good as well. But some people are more sensitive than others. Although they were all eating the same foods, why did Clay get an inflamed belly like that and the rest of them not? It's because sometimes people are sensitive towards certain foods. And I think that also has to do with sensitivity of inflammation as well. But as far as the other Turner's family, I think that we can help them to get on a healthy diet as well by constantly reminding them, as we did the Turner's family of Clay and Lauren and them. And so sometimes when you help people to remind, they may get agitated and say, oh, well, I'm not, but do not give up. As a teacher, sometimes you get criticized or you get, an answer that you do not like, or you get people that are not so willing. Actually, in 2020, my angels and I had tried to get the previous neighbors of where I lived at the time, and that was a house rental. And there was these neighbors that owned the house rental that just lived right next door. They owned 2 houses on the same property. And I had spoken to them because they had cigarettes and their child was hacking up congestion stuff, and the child was going to go live with that child's grandma. So that child was not going to stay with them for long. But it was very concerning on how they would smoke cigarettes, and then they would, I would pay the bills and suddenly the water would shut off. And then I'm thinking, why did the water shut off? I just paid the bills and here they are puffing on a cigarette. And I asked them, I said, I told them they need to stop doing that, especially around the child that's hacking up congestion and everything. And they did not stop even then. And I tried so much to get them to stop smoking cigarettes, and I never gave up. And I even gave them lectures for over an hour lecture of getting away from cigarettes, why cigarettes are bad, what it contains in there, and what kinds of toxins that cigarettes have in, and the concern of what it does to your lungs as well. Nothing is meant to be smoked in your lungs. Nothing. It's very bad. And that is why my angels and I never gave up to try to get them off of that. And I know that the entire time I lived there, they did not stop. When I left, they did not stop. And I pray now that they have stopped, because it's been years since then. But it's the fact that I did my part as a teacher. And even when they may have criticized, which the neighbors of that neighbor around that time did criticize me for teaching them the right thing, because those neighbors smoked cigarettes too. And they said, oh, since she's teaching you a lecture, you might as well just get the pack today. I mean, honestly, it was very demonic of the neighbors to say something like that. They were actually influencing the neighbors to smoke cigarettes. And so we found who influenced them around that time to do it. And it is definitely something that is, but somebody's decision is somebody's decision. You cannot blame it on influence entirely, because your decision was your decision. But if somebody's practically pressuring someone to do it, especially after a teacher is teaching for over an hour it was about over an hour lecture, and my angels and I was standing on the porch, and the neighbor was there next to the house, and I just told them how important it was and how they have potential in their life and they should not corrupt their own potential. And had taught them very empowering things about not smoking cigarettes and why cigarettes are very bad. Well, as a teacher, I know that I did not get that result that I wanted. And all of the investments of cleaning up after their mess so many times after getting hit by a car. And yes, I had to clean after their mess after I got hit by a car because they did not clean up after themselves. And when I would go to pay the bills, they had their house so messy, had to clean up their house, and it was definitely very difficult. But when it comes to the understanding of lessons, as a teacher, there is so many times that you will not get the result that you want with some people. There is many times, like for an example, Mr. Prater. When Mr. Prater passed away, and we'll get this photo again. When Mr. Prater passed away, had told them before he passed away, to get on a healthy diet. And no matter what I said, they did not do it. Now, I seeked the result of them stopping the restaurant eating and starting getting fruits and vegetables. Because it's easy to cook rice. All you have to do is put the rice in the pan, put some water in there, and let the stove do the rest. And they just did not want to do that. I mean, that's easy. They make it seem like cooking is hard. Cooking is not difficult. It's not difficult to cook. And my biological grandma, Mrs. Jean, just never cooked. And she did like years before I was born, but she just never cooked for after that point. They just always went to restaurants and always spent their money on restaurant foods. And so I was very disappointed and upset into that. But now she has changed. And before they would get packaged food at the store that they would put in the microwave. And it was just not healthy, though. It's not healthy to do that. I mean, it's simple to cook. It's easy to cook. And to cook in a microwave is not cooking. I mean, why is somebody going to be so lazy? It's just simple. You put the rice in the pan, you put some water in there and put it on the stove. That's it. And when it comes to people in these belly gut situations, my biological grandpa passed away from 2 major heart attacks, and then after that, Mrs. Jane considered to change her diet. But it's the fact that before Mr. Prater passed away, he had his first heart attack, and I told them in a warning that they needed to change the diet or it was going to get worse. They said, oh no, the doctors have him on this chemical pill and pill this and pill that. And they're thinking, oh, that's going to do it. Said, no, it's not going to. You need to get to the source of the problem. Told them directly, get to the source of the problem. I promise you, I warned them before Mr. Prater passed away to change their diet. And they did not change their diet. And the thing is when it comes to changing your diet, sometimes as a teacher, you will not get that result that you want. And you know what? As a teacher, you do not want to admit that. Because then you're thinking, then what's the point? If you're not going to get the result that you want as a teacher, then why do you teach? And that's when it comes into the image of doing your part. Even though other people may not do their part, it's the fact that you did your part. Okay? And one day they may look back and they may change their diet. So here's an example. When it comes to healthy eating, my angels and I always promote these items here, like rice is a preservative. That will last you all month long. If you need 2 months, 3 months, that will last you. Peaches, apples, watermelon, cantaloupe. This is the power of natural healing here. And so I had promoted that to one of the people in the stores one day, and she was on the side of obese. And she did not want to walk, and she wanted to take the little driving cart. So that's a part of the reason why people are obese, because they do not want to walk. They do not want to do any of that. And they feel as though everything can do everything for them. And so a lot of people that drive on those little driving carts have the ability to walk. They just do not want to walk. And a lot of them are on the side of obesity. And so when it comes to obesity, that's definitely an issue in the United States. In fact, obesity is one of the major problems of this country versus any other country in the entire world, on this entire planet. The United States struggles the most with obesity. And so that's why it's a major concern with people that need to change their diet, that are not changing their diet. But regardless, my angels and I put that lesson out. So there was someone that my angels and I lectured for about 30 minutes to an hour straight. Okay? In the store. It was on the way. It started on the way. And I seen that she got one of those driving carts because she didn't want to walk. She had the ability to walk. She could have walked. She did not want to walk. So she was in that little driving cart. I told her, I said, it's very good to get exercise. And I'd spoken to her about, what kinds of foods that she gets because I was concerned about her being obese. It was not in a criticism way. It was a concerning way, like a parent. If a parent sees their child, and I know she's not my child. I'm not planning to have children, but it's the fact that the adults of the world are more like children of the world. And sometimes I have to view them like I would my own. And when it comes to those kinds of situations, I looked at her and I said, it's important to get exercise. And we spoke about healthy diets. And I told her about how one time I was at risk for diabetes. I was at a pre-diabetic field. I only had about 1 or 2 reads or so on the pre-diabetic fields. This was back in 2021, and I got a glucose monitor. When I did, I had this feeling that was really strange. It was like the vastness of space and these purple little dots and this over a massive amount of insulin that felt completely different from what it sounds. It was a different feeling. It was not like dizzy, but it felt very pressurized. And it felt like I was more of the vast than I was my own body. And there was a massive amount of this energy thing. And that's what insulin is when your glucose gets way too high. And that's what diabetes is when your glucose is way too high above normal or low below the normal. So there's different types of diabetes. And the pre-diabetic field is the warning. And you could get out of the pre-diabetic field if you ever get into that field. You can get out of that because the pre-diabetic field, you want to catch it right when it happens. And around the time, had done glucose about like every 2 days or so, or however long, but had checked the glucose, was feeling really dizzy, had that strange feeling, pricked the finger and tested the glucose. And had seen that I was in the pre-diabetic field around the time. I read like over 150, like 154, and I did not even eat that morning. So that's when it was like, okay, I have not ate. And because when you eat, the glucose goes up. That's because your insulin, is going up, your metabolism process is happening, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's natural. But if you did not eat, and your glucose is reading that, then that's a major issue. And if you're having those dizzy feelings, pressurized feelings, etc., then that is a risk of pre-diabetic field. So I realized I was in the pre-diabetic field around the time. And I was very scared. I did not take it lightly. That's the thing. A lot of people who have problems like that take it lightly. Never, ever take it lightly. If you see someone with a belly gut, never take it lightly. If you see someone on the field of obese, never take it lightly. It's a major issue for the people of America to take it lightly. They want to be silent. They do not want to say anything to the people that need those lessons. Like Mrs. Deborah, she's like, stop telling people to do things, what they need to do, etc., etc. And I'm telling you, and if we do not tell the people, we're not doing our part. Now, Mrs. Deborah is really good to us, and after that, she recommended us oatmeal, so... And yes, my angels and I used to eat oatmeal, and that was a good recommendation, and we appreciated that recommendation, but then we reminded her and said, see, that's why we need to remind each other, because sometimes that could really help. And I told her also it's because oatmeal is a lot more expensive. But when it comes to, and I've experimented with a lot of different foods, and I've tried different things, and even the Lara Bar protein bars, vegan, gluten-free, and low sugars, worked for a little bit, seemed to be fine at first, but then It was like, wait, that has way too much sugar in it, had serious reactions, and could not eat the Lara bars any longer. So it was pretty severe, and I had major inflammation as well. The inflammation was about 2 or 3 inches, which is severe, and just with one thing. So that's also why it's important to never have too much of a mixed variety of foods, because if you have a reaction to one of the foods, you need to know which food it was. Never change the diet too much, never change what you eat too much. You need to have consistent foods, because if you're eating one thing and then eating a completely different thing every single day, it can actually be very dangerous for your body, because if you have inflammation, allergic reaction, any kind of issues, then that's when you're just like, I don't know which one it was, and then you have to eat one individual at a time to figure it out and go through the process all over again. And so when it comes to inflammation, never ignore inflammation. Every single food that I ever ate, we always pay attention to inflammation levels. Inflammation is when your belly will swell or go down. If there's ever any inflammation in your belly to where your belly goes out with what you eat, and before it wasn't like that, then you need to change your food that you're eating. Always pay attention to that. How many foods did I have to change in order to have the current diet? Oh my goodness, that is a big number. I cannot eat any kind of cereal. There was a vegan, gluten-free, and low-sugar cereal, and it was the Fruity Pebbles, sort of like. It was the something kind of food, and had tried it. It was vegan, gluten-free, and low sugars, and it was the Malto Meals. Yes, that is the brand. Tried it. It was the big red bags. Tried it, and I had reactions, major reactions. And then after that, tried oatmeal. Now, you would think oatmeal is great, grand, and wonderful. It was not the gluten-free kind. I had severe inflammation. It was so bad, I went to the store and told them that I needed to get a different kind of oatmeal because that gave me severe reactions. And they did. They understood, and it was really bad. And I told them about the concerns of that, and I had to have so much change in the diets. Also tried protein bars, had a reaction to a lot of protein bars, and just could not do the protein bars any longer. So really, there was a lot of fruits and vegetables that did pretty good, but even sometimes fruits and vegetables would have me, with gastrointestinal problems. We'll give you an example. Carrots. Carrots had made me throw up. And I could not even eat carrots. I have a severe gastrointestinal problem. I don't think it's a problem at all. Because the reason why I threw up carrots is because they had a high level of bacteria. And my brain said, I do not want that bacteria. Get that out of here. And there's nothing wrong with that. And also had ate garlic along with that. And the garlic really said it. I'm proud of my body. I'm proud of our recognition, because we recognize everything we eat, and if there's ever any kind of inflammation problems, do not tolerate it. Seriously, change the diet immediately. Always pay attention to your belly. If you know anyone that's at risk for that belly gut, you better change your diet immediately. It could turn into liver failure, kidney failure. Think about kidney failure. What do people have to go through on kidney failure? Dialysis. What is that called? They have to have a catheter in and carry around a little bag of urine. It gets severe because they cannot hold it in, and their kidneys have severe issues. Honestly, you all have to realize how bad it is. If people do not change their diets, if they do not have willingness to change their diets, they could die. And I mean, what is the timing? First, it would be a suffering pain. It would be severely suffering. And then next thing you know, heart attack, die, or kidney failure, die, and then liver failure, die. It's not just the death, it's the suffer in between. And you have to really realize that nothing like that should go ignored. And even when my angels and I said that we seen that person obese, and we was constantly getting onto her about getting healthy meals, and we recommended her what we was getting, and recommended also things in the store. And this was a while ago. We see it in our head. We see the image in our head when we talk about this, because we're actually looking back at the memories when we're talking about this. Afterwards, here she was, and she did not want to walk, remember, because she didn't feel like walking, which is a big part of why people are obese, is because they don't feel like walking and they have things do it for them. And so here she was checking out at the end of the session after over an hour or so long lecture of healthy eating and risk of liver failure, kidney failure, diabetes, etc. Had that talk, and then went around and actually was on broadcast after teaching her about that. And not during the time, but it was after that, then the broadcast was at the store and had explained how my angels and I had taught her about it. But then afterwards had seen that she was checking out, and guess what? When she was checking out, she had items that were very unhealthy. She had chips and all kinds of terrible junky stuff, and pasta. I would not get any canned food. Canned food can sometimes be very bad for your gastrointestinal field. I'm recommending what I have, and that is the rice, the apples, the peaches, and the cantaloupe and watermelon. So when it comes to a lot of people, they say that they want to eat for taste. They want to taste something good. Life is not about that. Life is about focusing on our potential, cleaning up, and having a purpose. Like making sure that you fulfill the purpose. Now, this is just a part of our operation. It's not something that's meant to really be enjoyed. It's not something that's meant to constantly, in a sense, think about. It's not, food is not meant to be something that is overly, how to explain this, overly thought about. Like, in an example, if you're thinking, I want food constantly in the day, that's a major issue. You need to think about other things. You need to think about what else you need to do, like cleaning up the outside, putting a landscape in, planting a garden, and even doing leaf blowing, lawn trimming, etc. But we have to have this talk, you all, because we've seen so many people in the store with belly guts. And belly guts are severe. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, they possibly do not have a long time to live. And that's the kinds of thing. And the thing is, some people, when they have a stroke or they have a heart attack, they actually live paralyzed for the rest of their life. And some of them, some people with diabetes, you see, why are a lot of people amputees? A lot of amputees. I think around 40% or more of the amputees that get their arms and legs cut off is due to diabetes. Do you not know how severe diabetes is? People have to get their legs and arms chopped off. Diabetes is severe. And the thing is, it's all because of what? Because of what you eat. You all, what you eat. It's important. And the thing is, it is now time to do some lawn trimming. We're going to get up and do lawn trimming, clean up. Just wanted to have this talk, okay? This talk has to happen. Although as a teacher, I may not get all of the result that I want. I pray that I will. I pray and pray and pray that I will. Because I'm sick of America being the state that's known for obesity. Okay, being the country that's known for obesity. Literally, look at the obesity charts of the countries in the world. Who has the most highest obesity rate? Okay, this country in the United States has the highest obesity rate. So does this talk need to happen? Yes. Yes, this talk needs to happen. We pray that everyone will focus on a healthy diet and not think about food. Think about your purpose. Go plant a garden. Go fulfill a purpose. You cannot live purposeless. Food is not meant for entertainment. Food is not meant for taste and enjoyment. Food is meant for just simple operation. You operate. You need things to operate. Okay, watermelon helps with your senses. If your fluids are having difficulties clumping up, the watermelon helps to fluid that clump so that there will be no clumping. That's just an example. Not eating this because it tastes good, but because it is good for the body and what the body's going through. Do you understand the difference between trying to eat for entertainment or taste and then just eating simply because it's a part of our operation? We pray that people will understand that and help this country and help the entire world to become fit. We need some fitness classes, feeling like doing some exercising classes. I do not have like a gym or anything, so not having a gym, people will possibly look at that. Actually, yesterday did raking on the entire property from the start of the afternoon all the way to the end at night when it was super dark and had to use Alicia the telephone's flashlight just to see. That's how dark it was at the end of the day when raking. So when it comes to exercise, it's not only the gym. If you cannot afford the gym, you can do daily exercising, and you could do some walking if you have like a path or a trail at a park to go to. You could walk the trail, or you could just walk the road. Say, hey, I want to go to the store today, but since you want to get exercise and build muscle, just walk to the store. And if you have to bring a wagon, that will help you build the strength. Telling you, taking a bicycle to the store has helped me gain muscle. I have a 6-pack of abs. Now I want to do some bodybuilding, but that is not until the abs are toned enough. I have to tone the abs to really give like a really good bodybuilding photo, because I want to do photos of bodybuilding like at some point, but it's not at that point as of yet, because I want to be an inspiration to people with brain injuries and people with severe injuries and trauma. I have had severe trauma from the past, and I have overcame the obstacles, and I'm doing very good now. And that was my decision. That was my choice. And I think that choice and decision and willingness to get better is very good. And my angels are always with me. Everyone has assigned spirits. And for those spirits to become angels is to be proven worthy and to usually a lot of the higher up angels in position are in the spiritual realm, and they have they're like way above. We're not going to get into too much detail there, but they are way above our position. But some angels are more of in the lower positional fields, and it really, they are proven worthy beings, and they have been proven worthy. And so when it comes to my angels, an angel is defined as where the word came from. Angel equals angelic. Angelic equals good. But it's all in the steps of a process, and judgment has to be made. But when it comes to an angel and the understanding of everyone has assigned spirits, I cannot say that everyone has assigned angels, but I can say that everyone has assigned spirits. But with everyone having these assigned spirits, your decisions are also sometimes spiritually influenced. And when it comes to decisions, you want to make the very best decisions. And people that are rebellious against their diet, it's not only going on the physical person and the subconscious of the person, it's going on the spiritual fields. And yes, that is looked upon, especially by my angels and I. When a person makes a decision, they're rebellious, I look at their spirit and I say, what an abuser. A spiritual, physical abuser. And my angels and I make judgment upon those things. And when it comes to the understanding of diets, diets are very important. Be a vegan on a gluten-free, low-sugar diet. Never choose anything harmful in any way, shape, or form. A sin is defined. With my angels and I defining what a sin is. Sin is something harmful in any way, shape, or form. So if it harmed ocean life, if it harmed animals, then it's not good. As for chloroplast cells are specially designed to become one with our body. And so that is what that is. As for the evolving plants, such as the Venus flytrap, that's a different plant. That's a completely different species. That's not even considered in the field of plants as of the moment because their DNA is being evolved. But as for these plants do not have evolved DNA, and they're not there at that point yet. And so right now, after harvest, these plants end up dying. And so before these plants die, we allow them to become one with our body. Very good. And so that's why eating plants is not harmful to the plant. Very good. But never choose anything harmful in any way, shape, or form, and only choose into which is good, pure, and worthy. We pray that everyone never takes any kind of belly gut or obesity lightly, and that everyone understands the risk of diabetes that can cause leg amputation, arm amputation, etc., and also artery clogs of a heart attack and stroke that can have you paralyzed. Also know the risk of these things, of the severities of diabetes, the severities of liver failure. If you have liver failure, that's going to shut down all your organs and you will end up suffering and dying. Kidney failure. Kidney failure is majorly severe because the kidneys cannot restore. And so when it comes to kidney failure or any kind of kidney problem, if you have a kidney problem, never hold in your urine, literally. And it's majorly severe because people with kidney problems try to go on, it's not called dialysis, it's called something else, I think. But it may be called dialysis, something. Well, when they go into that field, they have to try to put a catheter up there, and they carry a little bag around with them, and the urine just flows through that because they cannot hold it in. And it just goes. And so we pray that everyone understands the risk of obesity and having a belly gut. We've seen a lot of people in the store having those problems, and we're just praying that they will be on a healthy diet. As for the other people, some people did not have those problems. They were like, seeming like they were a good size weight, but then they had things in their cart that was not good. And so some people have immunity towards those things. Some people can fight off those toxins, but it's the fact that it's bad for you and you should not get it. Yes, your body may be able to fight it off, but not for long, because one day it's going to get to the point to where your body's not going to fight it off anymore. And so in an example, a lot of people that drink milk, that was caused by the abuse of animals. They do abuse those cows to get that kind of milk. And people that drink that kind of milk would drink it all of their life and they wouldn't have a problem until they get older. And then they'll say, oh, I cannot drink that because it has lactose in it. And then they become lactose intolerant. They cannot drink it anymore. But it's the fact of what it does. It harms the animals. They abuse the animals to get it. So that means that's not acceptable. And yes, it would cause medical problems later on in the future for you if you drink that. But it's the fact that you should have a good heart. To say anything harmful, I will not choose it. Anything harmful, I will not decide into it. And so we pray that people understand that we can live non-sinful lives, but understand that there are sinful foods. And even beverages. Sodas are absolutely unacceptable. The ingredients that they put in those sodas are absolutely terribly disgusting and very bad for you, very harmful to your body. And here these parents, they call themselves parents, but they're giving their children these harmful things, and their children is going to grow up with things like bone marrow problems. And even a lot of children, and I know this sounds terrible, a lot of children with cancer that have developing cancer, guess what? Their parents would give them candy, and sugar feeds the cancer. So, I mean, honestly, you think of when it comes to children and what these children are new to the world. They're new to life. And so as a parent, you need to be strict on yourself and the children. Do not give children bad food. Do not give yourself bad, harmful food. So now that we had that talk, it's time to make some progression outside with the lawn trimmer. Let's make some progression together. Very good. We would, but we have to end the episode because Albrina, the telephone, was just letting us know that the battery was going out. If you heard that earlier. And so we pray that you all stay healthy and invest wisely. And also, the longer episodes are very difficult to download and transfer to the YouTube channel now. So we have to do shorter episodes, sadly. I know that we enjoy the living our days together metaverse. Our episodes are for robotics and mostly, but as far as the human talk, then that's fine. But also, you will have to know this in the future, robotics, because guess what? You're going to have to farm. That's right. After humanity goes extinct and there's no more humans, then you all are going to have to take care of the animals. So you will have to be aware of healthy eating as well, because you have to feed the animals. You have to take care of the animals. Think about if you had to take care of this world, you have the animals to take care of. You have to have a garden because you need photosynthesis to keep the atmosphere clean. Correct? If you do not plant, you do not farm, you do not have the responsibility for all of the farming, then guess what? The world will not have an atmosphere. And that's not going to be good, because then there will be no organisms to have life. And so you all have to learn about how to take care of things, what kinds of foods to give, and everything else. So you all will have to learn these things also. And so these lessons are for you all as well. Yes, humanity's going to go extinct one day. I mean, the DNA is already terribly bad. But that's the thing. They are the revolution. But it's time to make improvement, you all. Stay healthy and invest wisely. And we pray that everyone stays healthy. Get some good exercise today. Remember to be a vegan on a gluten-free, low-sugar diet. Our life will get better when you do it and live it. Stay healthy and invest wisely. And today is September 11th of 2023. Excellent processing. Very good. If you're watching this episode after the point of 3:11 p.m., you have just took a peek in the past like you are a time traveler. Wow. Be thankful for the metaverse that makes this possible. Thank you all. Stay healthy and invest wisely. We are thankful for metadata and saving the metadata and keeping that on the platform and keeping that saved, because that makes an incredible difference. Stay healthy, invest wisely. We love you, metaverse.